Our guest today, a longtime golf aficionado and the son of an NHL hockey legend, Michel St Laurent. Joe Tilley's Big Canadian Sports Show. Coming up! Our guest today hails from Montreal. He played hockey at St. Lawrence University. He's a former executive treasurer and president of the Amateur Golf Committee for Golf Canada. He acted as a rules official for the 2007 President's Cup. He's an excellent golfer, ladies and gentlemen, and son of an NHL legend, Michel St Laurent. And we're going to be talking about his father. Born in Verdun, Quebec, an all-star defenseman, played for the Montreal Junior Canadiens, starred with the Quebec Aces, played 14 NHL seasons, and won 5 Stanley Cups. Dollard St Laurent. Michel, welcome to the program. Great to have you here, my friend.
Thank you, Joe. Pleasure to be there with you.
You know what? I wanted to always wonder what it was like to have an NHL star for a father. How did that make you a little bit different than some of the kids you grew up with?
Well, it was a lot of fun actually, moving around, getting to meet a lot of people. Of course, sometimes it was a little tough too, trying to play hockey and do other things. Some of the kids didn't like that; they thought you were a smart aleck. And I remember playing one time a game, and Gump Worsley's son was on the team, and it got a mess on the ice. We were just kids, and some of the parents were telling their sons to hit Gump's son. So it was, for all of us, it's a little bit of a challenge, but also there's a lot of advantages and a lot of good times.
Right. Advantages, disadvantages for sure. Well, your dad was a solid blue liner with Montreal Canadiens, often paired with the late, great Doug Harvey. Here's a dressing room shot that we've got from our video man, Paul Pasco. Look at Doug Harvey, Emile Butch Bouchard, Bud McPherson, Tom Johnson, and of course, your dad, Dollard St Laurent, who has passed away now, I guess, about 9 years. Have you seen this video before?
No,
Here
I
comes your
haven't.
dad right here.
No, I haven't.
Right there. There he is.
Yeah, yeah. He was a youngster at that time on the team,
Well, I mean,
playing
you
with
look at some
his
of this. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
playing with his all-time hero, Butch Bouchard. Was my
Right.
dad's hero, so it was a dream come true for him to play with Butch.
Well, playing for the Montreal Canadiens. How did he make his way to the NHL? Did he ever say there was a secret to his success?
Well, actually, my father didn't play that much minor hockey, but his older brother, who happens to be the father of my cousin Andre, who had a good NHL career also, was helping with the junior Canadians in that. And he asked the manager if his kid brother can come skate with them during practices and that. So he said okay, and then the manager kind of found he was skating pretty well in that. So somewhere down the line, they signed him to a contract with Junior Canadians, and off he went.
And eventually made the big club, which is pretty cool, even though his brother really didn't, right? So
No,
well, we have some cool vids of the 1953 Cup final, which was your dad's first. It's against the Bruins, of course. Game 5, scoreless in overtime until Maurice Rocket Richard sets up Elmer Locke for the game winner and the series clincher as the old Montreal form erupts. What did your father tell you about that victory, and what was that like? There he is, number 19 at the back.
yeah, well, for him it was his first cup. He didn't realize it wouldn't be his last, and very very proud of that moment, being with his heroes. Doug Harvey, his defense partner, which was extraordinary playing with him, and I was just like all kids when they win their first one. I mean, very very proud of it, and let's say that a lot of them lived in Montreal, and walking down the streets that summer, nobody was booing them or bugging them. Everybody was They were all asking him for autographs, and I wasn't born yet, but I'm sure he had a good party.
Yeah. Yeah, none of us were, yeah. Well, some were, but not me. So did he have many stories about, the Rocket or Doug Harvey? I know you said that Emile Butch Bouchard was one of his idols.
Yeah, yeah. Eh, let's say one of the stories he told me was actually his start with Canadians. Him and Dickie were playing, Dickie Moore, were
Yeah.
playing for the Royal Senior team. And Dickie was first scorer in the league at a certain point, and my father was third scorer in the league as a defenseman. So he was definitely a
Wow.
rushing defenseman. And then Canadians brought them up, sent them back down, and then at one point they said, "Okay, you guys are gonna stay with the big team." So they gave him a salary for 1 year of $5,000, and my father and Dickie weren't happy with that. So they said, "Look it, we're not going to sign for $5,000. We want 5,500." So they did a little strike to get $500 more. So that's how it was. So that's one of his good stories when you realize $500 for the Canadians at the time with everything that was full in the place was not a big thing, but I guess it broke their salary structure for rookies. So yeah.
Yeah, well, they didn't treat the players all that well back then like they do today. And back in the 50s, I'm sure early 50s, $5,500 was probably a lot of money. You could probably buy a house for that, right?
Yeah, well, it was like paid like a good doctor would be paid or a lawyer. Like they didn't
Right.
retire on it, and they all
Yeah.
were had summer jobs and worked during the summers. Otherwise, there wasn't enough there.
Right. What kind of summer job did your dad have?
Actually, one of his older brothers started an insurance office, and my father helped him during the summer, worked with him, learned the trade, and really didn't need to be paid because he had his hockey salary. So while they were building it up, he kind of worked. My mother never liked that, but worked for free for the summers just to help build up the business for his retirement after, for it to be a better business. So,
Right.
so that's what he did during the summers. But they were all over. Some went back to work in the farms. Others made business contacts and worked there all summer. For all of it was planned for their retirements.
Right. And I'm sure it worked out all right for him, though. Dollar did okay.
Oh yeah, he did okay. Did well, a hard worker, a lot of PR, and did a good job. And had a good life and enjoyed it a lot. So
Well, we have some more action of his days here. This is with the Habs against the Leafs. There's Dollard getting the puck ahead for Jean Beliveau. Legrand Bill is going to meet Ed Chadwick in the Leafs net as the Habs would beat the Leafs 2-0 on this occasion. Look at that, eh? He got the lone assist on that goal by Beliveau. Now they were a force here in the 1950s. Obviously, they went on to win the cup that year. We also have game action against the Bruins. This is once again in the final, and your dad, number 19, was physical presence in this game. We have some game action, and here we are, Dollard St Laurent doing his thing. You mentioned that he was a pretty offensive defenseman coming up into the NHL. Was he still an offensive defenseman once he hit the pros? Look at his skating abilities is obvious.
no, my father was a very good skater. Uh, when you're Doug Harvey's partner, you don't go up as much. Doug
Right,
was such a great defenseman that my father became the stay-at-home defenseman, which was
right.
never complained about it. I mean, he was paired with Doug Harvey for 8 years and great friends with Doug. And Doug was one of the best athletes he said that he ever saw. He could play every sport to a very high level. So,
Yeah, before uh, a guy named Bobby Orr came along, Doug Harvey was sort of the you know the one defenseman that everybody sort of measured themselves against, wasn't he? Like Doug was that guy who everybody looked to as the best player on the back line before Orr came along, wasn't he?
Well, he won, I think, 7 Norris trophies or 8 Norris trophies during the 50s. So I'd say that he pretty well had his stamp on that. And I think Tom Johnson won it one year, and the rest of the time it was Doug. So
Yeah,
he was an unbelievable defenseman. My
that's pretty
father had a
impressive.
nice story. Yeah, my father had a nice story about that. In expansion, he Doug went back, played in St. Louis, and Glenn Hall sees my father one time, says, "What's with him?" He said, "He's behind the net with the puck, looking at the play up the ice, and he's singing." So he was very relaxed out there, Doug. He's very relaxed. So it's just the way he played the game. He controlled the play, controlled the tempo of the game, and before Bobby Orr, he was the guy. That's for sure.
And a good singer too, apparently. So
Yeah,
well, your dad was obviously a good family man. We found some pictures from a publication. Paul again located these. Apparently, he was a heck of a ball player. We also have a picture of him here with your mother and then your sister Jacqueline. I guess you're pretty young back in January 1957 when this publication came out. Do you recall these pictures?
yeah,
Have you seen this before?
yeah. Well, I've seen that. I've seen that one and the one with my sister. Yeah, I've seen that before. Yeah, at the shoe store.
Right. Yeah. So what?
Yeah.
Tell us about his baseball career because it looked like he was kind of
Well,
serious about that as well.
well, no, that was the Canadians. They played ball during the
Oh, okay.
summers, and there was a stadium, and you probably played as a kid in Verdun also. There was a stadium right over Jacques Cartier Bridge called Delormier Field, where the AAA Royals played. So during the summer, Canadians would host games there against pickup teams or whoever, and raise money, I guess. And it's funny because somehow my father inherited about 5 gloves from that team, and I still had them down here in a crate at home. And I have these gloves from the 1950s, catcher's gloves, center fielder's gloves, and I'm lucky. At one point, I did get a real glove. Bobby Hull from Winwell sent me one. He found out I was playing baseball and sent me a glove. So I had a real glove to use at one point. So but it was a lot of memories. I remember going to see them practice when I was a little bit older that I can remember. But it's they had a great team. They were together all year round. The people that lived in Montreal.
Right. Well, we're a little bit older in 1961, or 1958, late 1958, when he got traded to the Blackhawks, and we actually have a little bit of video of him sharing a joke or a picture of him sharing a private joke here with Glenn Hall. And I'm guessing Glenn Hall must have enjoyed having a solid defender like Dollard in front of him. That must have been a nice trade for him, as from his standpoint.
Well, my father actually was not traded. He was sold to Chicago.
Oh
And
yeah.
at that point, Ted Lindsay had been sent to Chicago with Glenn Hall. So I did some
Ah,
research today, and I spoke to someone who knows Glenn Hall pretty well. And I said, could Glenn Hall be in on the movement? One of the reps for Detroit, for the Players Association they were trying to form? Because my father was, along with
right,
Doug Harvey and Bert Olmsted. Well, Bert Olmsted ended up in Toronto, my father in Chicago, and Doug Harvey ended up in New York a couple of years later. They were trying to break it
right.
up. So, so Glenn
Ah,
Hall, apparently, this is the story I heard today from someone who I really know he knows what he's talking about. And he said Glenn Hall was told by Jack Adams to quit talking to Ted Lindsay. He was a bad influence. And Glenn Hall said, no, he's one of my best friends. He said, I'm going to continue talking to him. Before you know it, he was part of the trade. He was gone to Chicago also. So that's
wow.
the story I heard. So I guess now all of them there were trying to keep influence on the association, keep it going. And those that knew each other on from that were probably tighter than that. And yeah, I'm sure he was glad to have my father playing with him.
Yeah, you know what? I had heard that too about Lindsay and how he got chased out of Detroit because of his interest in getting a solid union going, and the owners did not like that at that particular time, and it took a long time before the union really took off, didn't it?
Well, after they got rid of Doug Harvey and my father and Bert Olmsted, there's no more reps in Montreal. So the
Mm,
first ones to bow out of it was Detroit, then Montreal bowed out. They only had 4 teams left, so it didn't work. Toronto, I'll
right.
give you a good story on that my father told me. He said,
Yeah.
so at the end of the season, they drive down to Florida. And in Florida, the owners are there, the managers, and the reps from the teams. And the Toronto guys walk in, and one of them was, hold on, I'm looking, trying to remember here. Oh, of course, I'm not going to do that right. Todd Sloan.
Todd
So
Sloan.
Todd
Okay.
Sloan, King Clancy asked him, what are you doing here? He said, we're the reps for the Maple Leafs. Well, back then it was a one year contract. He said, well, you can't be the reps for the Maple Leafs. You don't play for them anymore. So he was also sent to Chicago. So all these guys were building up in Chicago that were trying to start the association. They're all being dumped there. Little did they know, Stan Mikita was coming and Pierre Pilote was becoming of age, and that they were building up a great team.
Wow.
So
Yes, and you know what? So a couple of years later, and there it was, the 1961. All right, now with the Blackhawks, where he won his fifth Stanley Cup. We have Ward Cornell taking us through the Blackhawks lineup at the All-Star game right here. And there's your dad, Dollard, right there. This is after they won the Cup. They played in the All-Star game the following year
yeah, against the Cup winners against the All Stars.
against the All-Stars, yeah, which is pretty good. Chico Mackey, Murray Hall, Branko Horvath, and then, of course, the 1961 All-Star Game intros. And your dad was introduced to the crowd at the Chicago Stadium. And I'm just guessing that that must have been a tremendous honor for him.
It was. They really enjoyed. He really enjoyed winning that cup, but I think he enjoyed the semifinals just as much, eliminating the Canadiens and stopping them at
Uh,
5 in a row after they got rid of him. So I think he really
right.
enjoyed that, winning that semifinals.
Yeah, no doubt about it. Here he is. All-Star Game introduction. Beautiful. Yeah. So his time in Chicago was excellent. This is now from the 1961-62 season. Your dad's Hawks had just defeated the Leafs on Hockey Night in Canada, and Dollard was one of the three stars in that game. And we have an interesting post-game interview that we can run, Vic.
And Gump number 3. Our third star is Dollard St Laurent, who I thought played an outstanding game. He was throwing his body around, and he slowed up the Leafs considerably and gave them a chance for Chicago to take over that game. Dollard, how do you feel about that?
Well, I'm very glad we won this game, Gump. I think it was a case of do or die, and I think the boys played very well. The goaler played a hell of a game, I'd say. And I think we're starting to move a little better. We had a tough series against Montreal. We had 2 sort of funny games in Toronto, but I think we're starting to pick up a little, Gump. I don't think any of the boys are tired. I think we'll keep her going. I hope so anyway.
We're good. Good luck to you, Dolly. We'll see you get back home.
Thank you very much.
So tell us about the Gump Worsley story.
Well, that always makes me. I've seen that one before on YouTube, but it makes me
Yeah.
laugh. Gump lives 70 yards from us, so it was funny that here he is giving the Stars in Chicago. I'm like, what's Gump doing in Chicago? But I was glad, and 3 games later, my father's NHL career was over. That's how fast it
Right.
goes. Third star, 3 more games. The Leafs win the cup, and he's sold to Quebec Aces. And that brings a few articles I saw in papers. Maurice Richard had an article, and he was saying, how can Dollard St Laurent be out of the NHL in the minors? It's ridiculous. And Gump saying, I get 50 shots a game. What's he doing in the minors? Why isn't he a New York Ranger? So it was,
Right.
that was the times they decided he was going, and that was it. Nobody was picking him up, and goodbye. So Gump
Well, you
was, I
talk
mean,
about the
just a great guy.
yeah, yeah. Well, you talk about living 70 yards away from Gump, but you also talk about playing with Bobby Hull, playing with the Blackhawks, playing with all those guys. What was it like being at practice? Blocking Bobby Hull's shots with no helmet.
No, I actually started to skate. My first time I would skate was in Chicago. But my biggest Bobby Hull story is when he had his first son and he was in a crib and he came to our place in a convertible and told my father, Dolly, you got to come and see my son. It was his first child. And my father tagged me along in the back of the Corvette and off we went, or the convertible, and off we went to
Right.
see the baby. I still remember that. I was 6 years old, maybe 7 years old, and the baby in the crib and all that. So for me, that was pretty good. But seeing Bobby over the years was unbelievable. How he would recognize us right away, and even Brett Hull, my brothers had ran into him and said who they were, and Brett would be like nearly like we were family. He had heard such good things from his mother and father about Dollard St Laurent and their family. So that was really amazing with Bobby the times I saw him. Yeah.
From what I understand, in his prime, Bobby Hull was quite a specimen. I mean, he's built like a very incredibly strong, right? That he was for
He
a
would
kid your age, 6 years old, he must be huge, right?
uh he was huge, and he would not leave Chicago Stadium until he would sign everybody who wanted an autograph. And he passed that on to his son Brett, who Susie Matthews would tell me in St. Louis was the same way. He made sure everybody got something that wanted something. So that was their marketing. Bobby knew that they depended on the people to earn their livings, and he had no trouble giving back and going on the ice and scoring 50 goals and setting new records, and gave it 120% every night.
So you're we talked about I'm going to transfer shift gears here a little bit, but you talked about hockey running in the family, and your cousin Andre also had a great NHL career. Tell us a little bit about Andre's career.
Well, Andre, I'll tell you a story. And it's not St. Lawrence University, it's St. Louis University that had a
Oh,
team back
sorry,
in the day in the
St.
70s.
Louis.
That's all right.
Okay,
Sid
okay,
Solomon III decided to put hockey in university hockey, gave St. Louis University, the Jesuits, free ice, everything to promote hockey in the Midwest. Very intelligent, very good about that. So in the 70s, Dickie Moore told my father, hey, they got a program in St. Louis. We should send the boys there. So that summer, I'm drafted in second round, I think, by Drummondville. And I won't exaggerate. I won't say first round, second or
okay.
third round by Drummondville in the queue. So at one point during the summer, my father says to me, well, what are you going to do next year? I said, I think Drummondville are losing 4 forwards. I think I can make their team. So my father left to play hockey, then 1 year university. My grandfather was a military graduate from Kingston Military College, an engineer in 1918. So he said to
Wow.
me, you won't be able to go to school. And I said, well, Andre's not going to school. He's playing for junior Canadiens. And he said to me,
Yeah.
Andre's good. He said, Andre's good. So he
Okay,
said,
he's telling you
you,
like it is. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
he said, you should go to university in St. Louis. There's a new program. It's only a couple years old. And if you're good enough, they'll find you. And they did. Because my roommate, Mario Faubert, was drafted by Pittsburgh and played with the Penguins till he broke his leg in 3 places and couldn't play anymore. But
Uh,
so they were starting to look at NCAA players that they realized, like Reed Larson and Chico Resch, they're all NCAA graduates. So it was starting
mhm.
back then for people to try and get an education on our team in St. Louis. But Rick Francis, Emil Lecat's son, Pat Lundy, Len Lundy's son, Grant Goigan, whose uncle was a player. So there were a bunch of us that were there that had relations to the hockey world. And these people were sending us to university to have something to back up on, which was, I thought, was smart. And
Yeah.
thank God he told me that.
Yeah. Well, it worked out pretty good for you, my friend. I know that we're going to talk a little bit about golf now because golf is or the connection that we have. We play a little golf
Yeah.
sometimes in Mexico, which is awesome. And it also runs in the family. Your dad was an accomplished golfer. What do you remember about his golf game?
Hit a long ball and had trouble with the short game. Loved golf. And actually became very involved in golf in Quebec. He became very involved. He became head of the junior section for the Provincial Golf Association. Started the junior camps. We never had anything. Him and the pro from Belay, Jean-Paul Lalaurie, set up the first junior camps. We had Robbie Jackson, Danielle Talbot, who's in the Quebec Golf Hall of Fame. Robbie Jackson, who won some Canadiens amateur events, and just set it all up. And Mario Brisebois, the newspaper guy. It was amazing what they did to start that, where we got lessons with pros. We got to play Mount Bruno. We got to play these courses where the pros, every game we played with one junior was 3 pros. My father and Jean Paul was one who started that program, and the first time we had coaching, which was he loved golf. He loved to watch it. He loved to play it, and one of his best friends was Dave Shea, president of the RCGA Golf Canada now, and they worked together a lot for golf. So that was good.
And you followed in his footsteps, and I know that you got a chance to be a rules official for the 2007 President's Cup, also Royal Montreal, where this year's President's Cup is going to be held. And we actually are looking forward to this incredible situation. There we are back in 2007 when you were there, and we actually have a photo, I think, Vic, with we have Michel and Tiger in the photo back in 2007. There we go. What stands out about that event for you, Michel?
I mean, that event was just unbelievable. Montreal was so hungry for a major golf event. The people were, the number of people that were there fighting to get there, fighting to get tickets, and just applauded everything that happened and pulling for Mike Weir, and Mike Weir finally taking Tiger down. And I was looking at that because in my mind, it was a little bit of a blowout. But after I looked at it again this morning, the results for each day, actually it was Saturday morning that was a blowout where the U.S. won 5-0. And that was the difference. The rest of the week, the international team played with them, but for some reason, Saturday morning, they had trouble. I know in our match, they beat Ernie Els and Adam Scott 4-3, I believe, which was, well, we got to shake these guys' hands before and after the match. And it was nice seeing all these stars there like there will be this year. A lot of the best players in the world, and Canada has one extra player there. The unfortunate part I find for the officials, all of our rules committee for Golf Canada was invited in 2007 to be not exactly the rules official, but to be the forward observer, to call out to the rule official who was the official guy in the group,
right,
if there was a problem up ahead. So we had Mike Davis there. We had John Paramore. We had Peter Dawson was there. It was like in the Hall of Fame in the referees' changing room. Besides the players, it was Mike Shea, Mark Russell, from the guys you had seen on TV all the time. That was, to be with them during the week and talking with them and learning from them how to get ready. It was really pretty good. A lot of good experience. I think the people of Montreal are going to answer again this year and be strong. A lot of people there, and I guess there's going to be a lot of people from Ontario, as the 3 members of the Canadian team are from Ontario. So, they have some great kids there, Mackenzie and who Golf Ontario told me all the time how great player Mackenzie Hughes was. So he's on the team. That'll be good.
Well, and that's what I was going to talk to you about too. So preparations seem to be going well. How does the course look? What's the latest on the course, the condition?
Well, actually, I spoke to Ted Fletcher this morning from the famous Fletcher family, whose father had the Canadian Open title for 69 years. So I spoke to Ted today. He was off. Said he was off to the course this afternoon. And everything was looking very good, and everybody, I think, has got their fingers crossed a bit after seeing what happened last week, the Alumni Cup, where they had trouble with the transportation on the first day. So I think they'll get it. They'll have a couple of practice rounds to work the kinks out. Well, Neil Bazaar is still a tough place to get to, but it's worthwhile to wait and time to get there to see this great event.
So the Canadian side, okay. So Weir's picks were, Corey Connors, Mackenzie Hughes, Taylor Pendrith, all the Canadians on board, along with Christian Bezadenhout, Siwoo Kim, and Minwee Liu from Australia. They joined the automatic qualifiers: Hideki Matsuyama, Tom Kim, Adam Scott, of course, Jason Day, Byung Hoon An. What do you think about the team? What do you think about Weir's choices?
Well, I think we have a very strong team. Personally, I was I was very happy Canada got a third pick. I wasn't sure they were going to get one. Personally, I was a little disappointed doing the rules, watching these guys grow up, that one of the two BC guys wasn't on the team instead of Mackenzie. I mean, they were ahead of him. Adam Hadwin was ahead of him in the FedEx Cup points, 20 spots at least in the world rankings. And I didn't understand that. I could understand Nick had won some things, Nick Taylor, but second half of the year, his game was not what it should have been. He got to play in the Olympics. I'm sure that was a great thrill for him. But I think he was a little. I thought I had one if there was a third pick, he would be the guy, not Mackenzie. So
yeah.
But otherwise, I think they'll all do the best they can, and they'll all do a great job. So I'm not worried about that. I mean, there's other people. Excuse me, Smith from Australia who got left behind, who's a solid performer, but there's only 12 spots. So Mike Weir did the best, what he thought was best for the team, and wished them all the best of luck. They're playing against an unbelievable team. But the girls showed us this week, Nelly Corda losing to Charlie Hull. Every day, it's not the same. Somebody can beat you. So at that level especially, every one of them can go low.
Right. And match play is a different kind of game too. What about the American side? Like you got Scotty Scheffler and Xander Schauffele, and they won just about every big event between them this season. I mean, could these guys be beat?
Well, that's only two guys. I mean, those guys can make a run. They can win every match they're playing, maybe, but still, there's other guys playing in other matches that I think the guys from our team can take. So that might help. Where there were, for sure, those two have just are rewriting the record books. I mean, what they did this year between them is unbelievable, and so no panic or anything. I mean, it's like you went out home playing with the boys every week.
Well,
it's going to be tough.
I don't think I've seen any. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Sorry, finish the thought. Yeah, go ahead.
No, it's going to be tough, but the guys are going to go out and play the best they can, and just as long as they keep it close, I think it would be fun.
Right. Yeah, I think the way that Scheffler is playing right now, in particular, Schauffele obviously good too, but I don't think I've seen a golfer that unflappable since Tiger was in his heyday. Hey.
Oh no, it's definitely. I mean, I agree with that. I mean, Can he keep it going for as many years as Tiger? I don't know about that, because Tiger, what he did, started such a young age of sorry, doing the impossible that it came normal for him. I mean, the shots we saw, the famous shot at Glen Abbey out of the bunker to the green over the water with the 6-iron, it's unbelievable what he could do. I mean, the first time I did rules at a Canadian Open, I remember the guy saying to us, if the guy wants relief from something that he could, you're looking at that shot and you're thinking he can't do that. They said, remember, they're the best in the world. They can do it. So
Right.
Schauffele and Tiger, I mean, these guys are they're not fazed by anything, especially not
Right.
about financial worries anymore.
Looking back at 2007, you were there, of course, Michel. Would you say the highlight of the event was when Mike Weir took down Tiger?
Oh yeah, I mean the crowd was unbelievable. They didn't want to watch the other matches. They're all crowding to get to the Mike Weir Tiger match, and we got to see them go by. I was in the match. It was KJ Choi or Hunter Mahan. People were not trying to watch it. They wanted to go see Tiger and Mike. We're doing unbelievable. It was a great show, and everybody felt like they won something that day. Even if the internationals lost the match, the cup. I mean, people felt so happy and proud that Mike Weir took down Tiger Woods. So it was magic that
Yeah.
day, that's for sure.
Well, he's the guy, right? So where's the guy who took down Tiger in 2007? Where's the guy who won the Masters in 2003? So would you say that he's the guy that should be captaining this Canadian team?
Definitely
Well,
should be
international
him.
team.
There's no one else.
International.
Yeah, there's
Yes,
no one
yes.
else. It was our turn to have a captain, and Mike Weir. People forget that he also won when they had those 4 special tournaments every year. Well, he won
Right.
the one
The
in
West
Spain.
Coast. Oh, that one.
In
Yeah,
Spain,
yeah.
he won. Yeah, which was one of the 4 top. They had those extra tournaments for the top players, and
The
he won
elite
one
of
of
the elite.
those. So I mean,
Yes, yeah.
yeah. So
Yeah.
he won. I mean, he was the pride of Canada, and I remember one year I took a junior for Golf Canada to the Junior British Open, which was held at Kilmarnock Barassi, which was right near Royal Troon in 2004.
Hmm.
So that Canada would split a house with the Aussies. So when I went back for dinner, we had a little chipping contest and we won. And I'm talking with the Aussies and I say, well, how many players you got here? I'm like, we have Mike Weir, And they say 17. And I'm like, oh my God, we're so far behind. We have Mike Weir and they have 17 players. Well, that's where with Golf Canada and RCJ before, we really picked it up with development of the golfers. And now we see we have a very strong, good group, mid-30s, but there's got to be people behind them, hopefully, be able to
Right.
take their places. And we saw the change in Canadian golf before our eyes. These kids growing up, juniors, amateurs, turning pro, doing their time on the other tours and coming on to the tour and have that many Canadians there. And apparently, when they're all together, and there's a tight knit group. The Canadians when they're
Yeah.
on the road and that helping each other. So that's amazing.
Yeah, you look at that the group of Canadians now, right? Connors and Taylor and Mac Hughes and Ben Silverman coming up now, and we got Roger Sloan was in the event last week. I mean, we got guys who are making some noise here, and
Yeah,
it's some good quality players. I mean, you look at that leaderboard last weekend. There's like 4 Canadians, I think, in the top 10. 3 for sure. So that's pretty impressive.
yeah.
So
Yeah.
we are they in for a good show this coming up in Royal Montreal?
You know, even if people are there, I'm not sure they realize every shot. I mean, I remember doing the match on the Sunday as being the forward person, and I'm like, KJ Choi's missing the greens all the time. Not all the time, but a lot of shots just off the greens, and I didn't understand why. Well, the next day we played, the president and myself and of Golf Canada, and we played in the tournament the next day for all the sponsors and that. And all of a sudden, they left the pins and everything the way they were. All of a sudden, I realized the greens are a lot of little bowls on them. And KJ Choi was going for the pin on every shot. So when he's missing these small targets he was aiming at, he was a couple of feet off the green. But I appreciated them. Wow, he was so close to knocking every one of them dead on
In.
with the pin, you know?
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. Then I had Gary Player and Jack Nicklaus on 14, where we had the Aquaman episode, the little drivable par four, and where one of the U.S. players fell into the lake, and the next day came back with a Aquaman suit, and everybody just loved it. They loved it. It was great. So KJ Choi, Hunter Mahan hits an iron off the tee into the middle of the fairway. KJ goes for the green and puts it in the bunker on the right. And there's the pins in a small little pot area. And Jack Nicklaus and Gary Pearce me. Well, is that Hunter's ball or KJ's? I'm standing beside him. I say it's KJ's ball, and I'm like, I'm beside Jack Nicklaus and Gary Blair, you know.
Yeah.
And
Yeah. Yeah.
all of a sudden they say he might make that, and I'm like, he might make that. There's no green to work with. So he knocks it 6 inches from the hole, and I'm like, oh my god, to realize how good these guys are.
Yeah.
And golf is
Yeah.
getting now a bit like hockey, where so many
Yeah.
parents think their kids can play and go on tour. Yes, there will be a couple, but boy, oh boy, I hope they're going somewhere to get in Canada or United States to get an education, because a heck of a lot of them won't be on the tour, unfortunately.
All
But
right.
it's a great sport. It's a very popular sport now.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's nice to get an education and play, and then if you're lucky enough to make it, if you got the right stuff, then a lot of it's going to be between the ears, obviously, to get you to that level. So you got to be able to handle
And
that pressure and yeah.
and stick it out. And they got to stick out the
Right.
university part, I think, because the NCAA is so strong now. I mean, you look at the guy this year went right from the NCAA to the tour, won an event, and I can't remember his name, but won an event. Now he's a regular on tour. He went right from the
Yeah.
NCAA because now they have
Yeah.
new products and new ways for them to bypass some of the parts of going to the Corn Ferry Tour and all that, and right to the tour if they do a miracle. Well, some of them are able to do it. So if you can go to the NCAA, even in Canada, I mean, our university program we started 20 some odd years ago. The first one we had one guy around par. Now we got 15 guys under par. The girls the same thing at
Yeah.
Thornhill. The first year we had the girls, we had maybe 2 golfers on every team. The rest were trying to learn golf. Well, now we have full teams. University of British Columbia are playing in NCAA events, and golf is really, really exploded, and the education part is doing a good job helping these people through, which is, you don't have to go to the United States. There's a great program right here for these kids now.
Right. Right. Yeah. It's good to see. Okay, Michelle. So we're partnered with an organization called Believe, Become, Be You. It's a mentorship program for kids 10 to 17. It's run by our old pal, Papa Jack Gindy. How
Yes.
important is it to get the message to kids?
Well, I can't believe Papa Jack is doing that. I mean, I watch his videos on Facebook all the time, and he's in it day in, day out. I mean, he's just, and I think it's a complicated life for kids now. It's a lot of pressure. just doesn't seem they're having the great childhoods that a lot of us had, be able to run around and play, and now I'm sure there's well organized groups, but a lot of kids need help and need support and need a direction. And hats off to Jack for doing that and having this go. And I'm wishing him all the great success, and I hope all these hundreds of or thousands of kids can benefit to get a push into life and have the confidence they need to make, to have great lives.
Right on. Well, Michel, I want to thank you for. Oh yes. Before we go, I want to have one more. We're going to take another look at a great photo you got here. This is your dad taking out a guy named Gordie Howe, who is known to throw out a few pretty good body checks himself. There's and the insert there. You see your dad and Gordie talking many years later. But that's what a shot that is.
Yeah, that's the 100th anniversary of the Canadiens. Gordie Howe was the guest, the honored guest to be there, and that's my father and him talking a bit about Gordie. I didn't mean to hit you that hard, matey. And Gordie said, "Yeah, but I got you back the next game."
Yeah,
so,
yeah.
People would say to my father, "You had a high stick." I said, "No, that's after the collision. We're both trying to stay on our feet."
Yeah.
So,
you're balancing act. Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah.
Listen, Michel, thank you so much for being on the program and taking the time to talk a little hockey, talk a little golf, and it's been great having you on.
Yeah, and all I can say to that, Joe, was a pleasure, and good luck and good week for Team International. The weather in Montreal is holding up. It could be bad this time of year, and we're just having a great end of September and that. So it will be like last time, I think, where it will be very pleasant to play golf at Royal Montreal, one of the great places to play in the world.
Right on. Okay, thank you, Michel. All right, when we come back, we got more, including a look at the Canelo fight. Back in a flash.
Addiction Rehab Toronto, Toronto's #1 alcohol and drug treatment center, saving lives, reuniting families. The only treatment center in the province to offer medical detox, treatment, sober living, and lifetime aftercare all in one place. Our unique and specialized programs are designed to equip our clients with the tools to successfully lead a life of dignity, respect, and purpose. Let us help save your life or your loved one's life. Call today for more information or to facilitate an intervention. 1-855-787-2424 or visit addictionrehabtoronto.ca.
Well, you got to hand it to Canelo Alvarez. He's not just coasting through his career by taking on easy stiffs. His last win was a KO against the tough as nails fellow Mexican Jaime Munguia, who came in with a flawless 43-0 record. Now, on Mexican Independence Weekend, he squared off against another unbeaten contender, Edgar Berlanga, 22-0, 17 knockouts. This one was a barn burner. Now, Canelo sent Berlanga to the canvas in round 3 with a picture-perfect left hook, but credit where credit's due. Berlanga got up and he battled like a warrior. Things even got a little bit wild at times, but Canelo's skills shone through. Despite giving up 5.5 inches in height, Canelo dominated this fight, earning a unanimous decision to improve his incredible record to 62-2-2, keeping his unified belts and once again proving he is one of the all-time pound-for-pound legends in boxing.
Rely on Walton Restoration's 40-plus years of excellence in residential and commercial restoration. Their strong reputation is built on workmanship, professionalism, and outstanding customer service. Trust Walton as your dependable partner in emergencies, serving Durham, Kawartha, and Northumberland regions. Call 905-725-5666 or visit waltonrestoration.com. Experience top-tier workmanship and service. Walton Restoration, the trusted name in property restoration. Join satisfied customers like me.
Parents, what's the biggest fear for kids 10 to 14? A future they think they can't handle. At Believe, Become, Be You, we know confidence in the future is a habit we can build. Our course doesn't just prepare kids for the future, It seeds them with skills they will use now. For a limited time, the I Believe in Me Foundation is offering the first 1,000 kids and their parents 1 year free access. This priceless opportunity will save you over $2,000. This isn't just a course. It's a journey in developing life-enhancing skills that will grow with your child, fostering gritty minds, creative futures, and better bonds. Get signed up now at believebecomebu.com. That's believebecomebu.com.
Hi, I'm Joe Tilley, and I want to tell you about the painting pros. Patrick and his crew recently came into my home and they painted the walls, they added some color. It's fantastic, and I can't be more satisfied with the work they did. That crew is tremendous. They were professional, they were courteous, they were respectful, and they did a fantastic job. Look at that. Look at that color. I just can't stress enough how satisfied we truly are with Patrick and his crew. For all your painting needs, go with the pros.
And we want to thank all the folks who make the show possible. These are friends, trusted business associates, and all-around great people. We highly recommend them all. Thank you for your support of Canadian sports. A reminder, the show is available on iTunes, Spotify, Breaker, Radio Public, Google Podcasts, Pocket Cast, as well as the Spanglish Network, Buzz TV Live, and Zingo TV. Also, check out the show on YouTube. All of our past great shows are on there, shorts. Like and subscribe. It's absolutely, positively free. Thanks once again to Michel St Laurent for being on the program. Thank you for watching. We'll see you next time.
Ryan Gribben Insurance Planning, helping you solidify your financial future.
At BGIP, what we do that's unique in the marketplace is we show people how to spend and enjoy their money in the early years of retirement without the fear of running out. Also, we're able to do this without you having to change financial advisors. Please look us up at bgip.ca today. Let's book a 30-minute phone call to see how we can bring value to you and your family in your planning.
Call Brian today for all your retirement needs. We did. 905-686-5678. MNP, a leading Canadian national accounting, tax, and business accounting firm. MNP proudly serves and responds to the need of their clients in the private, public, and nonprofit sectors. Through partner-led engagements, MNP provides a collaborative, cost-effective approach to do business and personal strategies to help people and organizations to succeed across the country and around the world. With local offices in Oshawa, Mississauga, Burlington, and more, their team is here to support you. Visit mnp.ca today to learn more. Rooted in 60 years of tradition, Sleepy Hollow is a private golf club with a friendly community of members just minutes from Toronto. With mature trees and rolling fairways, Sleepy Hollow provides a challenging and enjoyable experience for passionate golfers. Enjoy great golf, amazing dining, and a picturesque patio second to none. Visit sleepyhollowcountryclub.com. Joe Tilley here. My wife Penny Claire and I recently took an amazing trip to Egypt and Jordan with Trip Oppo. And here are our top 10 must-dos. Last but not least, we relaxed at a luxury resort and took a dip in the famous Dead Sea. This beautiful resort was a perfect way to cap off our incredible adventure in Egypt and Jordan. After days of exploring ancient ruins and bustling markets, it was wonderful to just kick back, put on a little mud, and soak up the sun by the Dead Sea. Oh, I almost forgot to mention the amazing cuisine in Egypt and Jordan. Don't forget to try the delicious local food like mouth-watering Egyptian barbecue. And the best part is that our Trip Oppo tour includes almost all of the meals, so you can indulge in the local cuisine without worrying about opening your wallet. I would highly recommend that you book your next trip through Trip Oppo. Call them today. Guests on Joe Tilley Sports receive a gift certificate from Classica Imports. Top of the line imported men's clothing. Check out the Classica Essential Collection now. Go to shopclassica.com.